What's going on, guys? Carmine here, and yes, I'm doing another Q&A video for the recent episode of Thrones. You guys have requested it, so I do as you command. I'm kind of like the genie from Aladdin, except more of a jerk and kind of insane. Now, this previous episode was really good, but it got a lot of mixed reactions from you guys. Since I read every comments, I get the feeling that you either liked it, thought the pacing was bad, or think I suck balls. And while all that may be true, I think generally the episode did what it was supposed to. There was a couple of nitpicky things I didn't like, as you guys have heard, but overall I thought it was good. Now, before I begin, let me just say that on my channel we like to correct our mistakes, and in my episode 2 review, I said that the man standing next to a young Ned Stark was his older brother Brandon Stark. I was wrong. That is actually Sir Roderick Castle. You remember Sir Roderick as the man with the wicked beard in Season 1 escorting Catelyn, and in Season 2 when Theon beheaded him. The reason I didn't catch it is because I never thought the show would include him ever again, and I was kind of hoping for all the wolf pups to be in Bran's vision. Normally when I watch the episode, I don't go on the IMDb page or read someone else's review. I like to go in fresh with my own opinions without letting someone else's thoughts come through. But thank you guys for correcting me, and to the people who did, I sent you replies. Now with that out of the way, let's get on to it. First question, do you think Game of Thrones without the guidance of the books is now too Hollywood? I do think without the guidance of the books, it will get a little too much Hollywood-ish, but I'm going to argue both sides as to why this is good and why it's bad. In episode 1, we saw Brienne come out of nowhere to save Sansa and Theon just in the nick of time before the Bolton soldiers were able to harm or capture them. This is very Hollywood in my opinion, simply because in this world, things don't turn out peachy like that. Brienne basically got everything she wanted, revenge against Stannis and to rescue Sansa Stark. Normally, Game of Thrones doesn't work like that. People who are wronged by others don't necessarily get what they want, and it's a lot like life in that way. One example of this is with Locke and his book counterpart Vargo. He had Jaime's hand cut off, but Jaime never gets his revenge, and the guy dies off by other means. What makes George's book so un-Hollywood is that anything can happen at any time with any character. George makes sure that even secondary characters you meet once or twice have a big impact. Hollywood doesn't really do that. Another example of this is Walder Frey. He is a secondary character we see for all of 10 minutes in Season 1, and then he comes back in Season 3 and is responsible for the deaths of 2 main characters and most of the Northern Army. Hollywood would never do that. If they had their way, Robb would have died fighting Megatron on top of the Death Star. In the books, actions and words have weight to them, and a lot of the times, life-changing events are beyond the control of our protagonist, whereas in most Hollywood material, things magically work in the main character's favor. But to argue as to why this can be good, because sometimes the books can be boring. Take for example the Hardhome episode last season. Now this is minor book spoilers, very minor, so you can calm down. In the books, Jon Snow never goes to Hardhome, but in the show, he does, and it was epic. This is Hollywood at its finest by giving us an amazing battle sequence that we wouldn't have gotten had the showrunner stuck to the books. So essentially, it's a good and a bad thing, and it depends on how you do it. I don't know any book reader who thought Hardhome sucked because Jon should have stayed at Castle Black because he's the Lord Commander. Yeah, no, Hardhome was amazing. Next question, now that Jon has been resurrected, will he be a follower of the Lord of Light? I don't think so. Jon has never been too religious, and I doubt he'll start now. Maybe he'll become a little bit of a believer in this power, but I find it very hard to imagine him saying, the Lord of Light is the one true God. Something tells me that Jon will use his second chance at life to make things right again over at Winterfell and to help in the fight against the Walkers, and then go off into exile or disappear entirely. Someone in the comment section said that Jon might kill himself off because he feels like he stayed too long after everything is said and done. I really hope that doesn't happen, but like I said previously, Game of Thrones is becoming a little too Hollywood, and I can see them doing something like that, to where he'll say, "My mission is done. I must go now." But the one thing I do think will happen is he'll be a little less compassionate and just want to get things done. I also think he'll use his death as a loophole to get out of being in the Night's Watch. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about him being a devout follower, so leave your thoughts below. Next question, why didn't Roose see that betrayal coming? It's called plot stupidity, where characters we think are supposed to be smart do dumb things for seemingly no reason. See Trystane Martell in episode 1 as an example. It happens in The Walking Dead fairly often, where these people have fought zombies for years now, suddenly make dumbass decisions that would get everyone killed. Roose should have seen that coming, but at the same time, I can understand why he didn't. It was a family moment, and he didn't think Ramsey would pull something like that. But when he saw Ramsey coming in for the hug, you could say he let his guard down because he wanted a tender moment with his son. I think Roose expected Ramsey to storm out all angry, but what actually happened blindsided him a little, and there you go. I also believe that Roose never had a son before Ramsey, and that is why he trusts him a little more. In the books, Roose tells the story of his first son Domeric, who wanted a relationship with his half-brother. And then he dies of poisoning, and Roose suspects Ramsey did this to be his only heir. In the books, Roose is more suspicious of Ramsey because of this, so I guess in the show, he's less so because Domeric wasn't included. Next question, what do you think happened to Hodor? I like the small theory that he had a pet called Hodor, and that the pet had the ability to warg. We haven't seen animals that can warg yet, and it's entirely possible for them to be able to. The theory states that his pet warged into him, and then the original body died, and it's stuck inside his mind, and that is why it can only say Hodor, because its name was Hodor, and that is what it remembers being said repeatedly. There is also another theory out there that someone hit him over the head, and that he became the way he is. There are a bunch of them, so take your pick. Next question, what do you think is the gift Ramsey will receive in episode 3? I really hope the gift is Theon and not Rickon or Osha. We see the Umbers have come, and it looks like they're siding with the Boltons. For those of you who don't remember, Rickon and Osha are with the Umbers since the end of Season 3. Bran told them to go to their castle, the Last Hearth, and to stay there. I'd be annoyed if it turns out to be Rickon and Ramsey ends up killing him and Osha off. I mean, the kid has stayed away for almost 3 seasons, and he comes back only to die without a greater purpose? I always thought that, in the end, Rickon would be the Lord of Winterfell. I have no idea, but it better not be Rickon or Littlefinger. I'd be super pissed if they killed off Littlefinger without giving him more to do. Plus, he's my favorite character, so yeah. Next question, why do you think Benjen joined the Night's Watch? I think Benjen knew about Lyanna and Rhaegar's relationship. I mean, the story goes that Rhaegar rode to Winterfell and kidnapped her. Yeah, no, I think Benjen knew how much his sister loved him, and allowed Rhaegar to run off with her, and maybe even helped them get together. I think the guilt over the outcome of his decision played a crucial role into him joining the Night's Watch. This is my theory anyway, that he did so out of guilt, because Rhaegar taking off with Lyanna basically meant that his father and older brother died. He made the decision to let them run off, and in turn that led to 2 of his family members to try to get her back and get killed. Maybe Benjen blames himself for all of it. Who knows? But I follow that belief. I think it's very plausible. And last question, if Jon turns out to be half Targaryen, will Alliser Thorne follow him? For those of you who don't know, before Alliser Thorne was in the Night's Watch, he was a Targaryen supporter. He was in King's Landing in the final days of Robert's Rebellion and was allowed to keep his head if he joined up. I don't think he would support Jon anyway, because he takes his oath seriously. When you join the Night's Watch, your previous attachments to your family or decisions are forgotten. When you become a brother, you forget all that and only focus on your job and your new family. Thorne has proven that he takes his oath and job very seriously. He doesn't hate Jon because, fuck him, he dislikes Jon because he feels that Jon thinks with his heart and not his head. Jon doesn't make decisions that would benefit them and is too kind to the wildlings, who have probably killed some of Thorne's friends. Thorne is very devoted to the Watch because he's been there for over 15 years, and even when Jon became Lord Commander, he could have led a mutiny against them. Both of them had a lot of supporters on their side, but he didn't. He could have stopped Jon from executing Janos Slynt, but he didn't. He takes his vows seriously, and that means his previous loyalties are done. So no, even if Jon turns out to be half Targaryen, I don't think he'd support him. Now, I can't wait to see episode 3 and find out if Jon kills Thorne and Olly for that betrayal, and if you're excited as I am, let me know in the comments section below what you think will happen. If anybody has any more questions, I'll try to get to them, or I'm sure someone else will, because the comments are usually filled with people who know a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to click that like and subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Baba Booey.